If you want to make your way to the stage, we're going to be starting in about 5 minutes. Audience, you can find your seats. Thank you. Good evening from the University Community Center at Western University. I'm Jessica Kim of the Western Gazette, and welcome to the 2026 USC presidential debate between Mia Cameron, Saja Dehebier, Cole Firth, Hunter Schultz, and Steve Jha. This debate is brought to you by the Western Gazette, Western University's student newspaper since 1906. The Gazette has designed the format. We'll start with opening statements, followed by rapid-fire paddle round, direct questions, and a question for all candidates. Then we will break for a brief intermission. After the intermission, we will begin open debate period, community questions from the audience, and finally, we will conclude with a final question for all candidates. The direct question period will consist of 3 rounds with 1-minute answers from each candidate. The debate period will consist of 3 rounds with 7 minutes allocated for open debate and rebuttal. I will remind candidates of the rules before we begin each segment. All candidates have agreed to these rules. None of the questions have been shared with the candidates or their campaigns. Good luck to all candidates. We will begin with opening statements. Candidates, you each have 1 minute. We will start with Mia Cameron.
Hi guys, my name's Mia, and I'm running to make a USC that's yours. And I'm not talking about the students that are the 1% or the students that are already involved with student governance. I'm talking about you. The ones that are at home tuning in for maybe 30 seconds of this live stream, the ones that are working in the spoke right now, and the ones that don't even know that there's a USC election going on, because trust me, there are some of them. This campaign has been a byproduct of my undergraduate experience. And I got involved with FIMS Student Council and FIMS Sophing, but these were communities that were directly accessible to me. And what that shows me is that we have a huge communication gap within our USC. And that's something that really stood out to me over the last semester, over 200 hours of consultations with students just like you. And what I want to do is make a USC that's for every single one of our students. And you know day one when you get here, what you can get out of your undergraduate experience, how the USC directly impacts you and your life here. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
Hi, everyone. My name is Saja Dahabia. My mic working? My campaign isn't built off of consultations. When I came here 4 years ago and I started in September, I developed a chronic condition, and that ultimately reshaped my entire life. But it isn't even my experience that reshaped what I want to come to the USC for. It's what I saw from everybody else. It's people coming into peer support and using the snacks that we have as a daily source of meals. It's people coming in and saying that they need to sleep in the peer support center after hours because they can't afford a hotel. It's people in the accessible education department going in there for their exams and being told after 5 minutes their time is up while they're in the middle of a breakdown. It's for day-to-day things when you want to hang out with your friends and you hear them say that they can't afford to go out. It's the experiences that I've seen and that I've lived that I base my campaign off of, because I want to create a USC that accommodates to all that, that changes these things so that you can have these things, so that you can go out with your friends and have fun. That's what my campaign is based off of, and that's what I want to bring to you guys at the USC, because this is your voice that I want to amplify.
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Wonderful. I hope to bring us a USC that's not a building where we are here just for convenience or because we need something like a doctor's appointment, but somewhere where we can be entertained, somewhere we want to be, not somewhere we're here simply by chance. So by revolutionizing the USC, by adding some additions like the USC Speakeasy or the USC Hookah Lounge, I think we can make the USC overall a general nonprofit that's here for you, not just in your deepest needs, something we're already doing well, but in an area that we want, something that we can be passionate about, something that we can feel proud to go to the USC to do. Overall, my campaign encapsulates that and improving our current events to ensure that the USC is as best it can be and providing as much it can for you, the general student. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. We will now go to Hunter.
Look, so I'm not looking to appeal to the 30% of students that are typically voting in USC elections. I'm trying to appeal to the 70% that don't. I am a chiller, a real one. I can be one that's relatable to the 70% that don't vote. So I'm looking to not so much fix issues that currently exist on campus, but more so enhance the ideas that already exist. So I'm trying to get a nightlife on campus. I'm trying to get a more reason to come to campus, one that's more excitable and invigorating to the students, particularly those who don't typically vote in USC elections. I am one person. I'm not a team of people. I'm simply one that is ready to do the work for students so that they can prosper in their academic careers. Additionally, I think that I'm a chiller. I'm ready to earn your vote. I'm ready to cut this short because my campaign speaks for itself. The platform, the ideas behind it.
Thank you, Hunter. That's all we have time for. Next is Steve.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. My name is Steve Shaw, and I'm a fourth-year nursing student. I've been connected with this London community for as long as I can remember. From elementary school, where I did math programs here, from high school, I did science programs here. My closest family friends all went to Western. My roots have been laid here. My story is being written. I want, after my time at Western, from the efforts of my advocacy to continue improving the student experience. As one of the first ever nursing students to run for USC president, I am so excited to bring my unique background and stories. I recognize that everything that the USC does increases and improves the student health. Not just your biomedical health, your mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, and even social health. So, Western students, this election season, make your voice be heard. A vote for Steve, start with Steve as we make campus a more healthy, equitable, and inclusive campus for everyone.
Thank you, Steve. That concludes the opening statements today. Next, we'll move on to the rapid fire round. Each candidate will be given a paddle to respond either in the negative or affirmative. Please raise your paddle as soon as you hear the question. After all candidates have answered, Finn, located to my right, will read out each candidate's response. There will be no time for debate or open mic session during this period. We'll now begin with the first question of the rapid fire round. Did you consult with a variety of groups on campus to develop your platform?
All right, that is a yes from everyone except Hunter.
Do you feel that the USC in its current form effectively represents the student body?
That is a no from everyone except Steve.
Are you willing to advocate for a human rights-based investments policy?
That is a yes from all candidates.
Would you increase ancillary fees to provide more services and programs?
That is a no from all candidates.
Does the USC currently provide enough fun programming for students?
That is a no from Mia, Cole, and Hunter, and a yes from Saja and Steve.
Do you feel that SOFs are adequately supported by the USC?
That is a no from Mia, Saja, and Steve, and a yes from Hunter and Cole.
Would you like to give some special privileges back to Greek life organizations? Would you like to give some special privileges back to Greek life organizations?
That is a yes from all candidates except Saja.
Do you think the USC has been effective in its past advocacy efforts?
That is a yes from Mia and Steve, and a no from Saja, Hunter, and Cole.
Would you support the creation of more bar and nightlife spaces on campus?
That is a yes from all candidates except Saja.
Do you feel like all the candidates on this stage are prepared to be USC president?
That is a no from Mia and Cole, and a yes from Saja, Hunter, and Steve.
That concludes our rapid fire round. Finn will now grab your paddles. Next, we will begin the direct question period. These questions are targeted at each candidate and based on their individual campaign and platform points. There are 3 rounds. You will have 1 minute to answer these questions. We'll start with Saja. You have multiple points on your platform intended to address food insecurity. If you had to pick only one to action, which would you choose and why?
I think that food insecurity is a huge thing on this campus. I tackle a lot of reasons on how we can tackle this subject, but I think transparency and openness is the most important thing. When it comes to a soup kitchen, you have to be reasonable. You cannot service free soup and bread to 40,000 students on campus. And being a presidential candidate is about being transparent in these things. You have to be honest. You can't just fluff the crowd, because when you go in the office and they see that this is all fluff, or they see that people aren't actually taking action to the things they're talking about, that affects the students. That affects the people that you said you would run for and the people that you said you would represent. I want to be open and honest, and I want to say that I can't service free food to every single person, but that's not how you have to tackle food insecurity. It's about making things accessible. I would bring in the value menus to the Spoke, the Cove, and the Wave. It's similar to the dollar menu at McDonald's. It'll be cheap, it'll be subsidized so that people can afford to eat on this campus, so people that can afford to have food that's accessible to them, because that's what everybody deserves. It's a basic human necessity, is to have food. And this campus refuses to acknowledge that the prices here are way too high. People don't want to eat here. People can't afford to eat here.
Thank you, Saja. That's all the time we have. Cole, you state in your platform that equity, access, and opt-in is a priority in your campaign. How do you plan to implement this?
Wonderful. So I think opt-in is very simple there. When we all pay our ancillary fees, which we may not know is $1,700, $1,770. And we think, where does those ancillary fees go? We look where we spend them and what we do with them, and the majority of students, vast majority of students, can't tell where they go. It's important to me to ensure that the money you spend goes somewhere you understand, somewhere where you genuinely see the benefit. It's almost like opting into insurance in a sense, where those ancillary fees that you pay are ones in which you elect to pay and have a choice in paying. And with that, I'll leave it there.
Hunter, on your platform, you did not identify any action items related to academic support. Do you plan on addressing this area if elected?
No, I do not. I think the current academic wellness is sufficient, and I don't believe that the return on investment is sufficient. I think that the diminishing returns that we implement through additional funding is not exactly worth it. I don't believe that there is many academic changes worthwhile. I think the current system is sufficient, and I don't see that as a need for change. I'm trying to target the 70% that don't vote, and the 70% that don't vote obviously agree that there is no need for academic change.
Steve, on your platform, you mentioned you'd like to implement and upkeep soundproof meeting booths rentable for 30-minute intervals. Do you believe this is the most effective way that the USC can improve the availability of workspaces on campus?
Yeah, that's a great question right there. So one of my platform points is to implement soundproof meeting booths on floors of the UCC. After consultation with many students, I've identified a lack of these spaces around specifically the UCC. Have you ever had to take a call, an interview, a very important message, right? Sometimes it's hard to get that through. After researching what other universities have been doing as well, I've seen that Waterloo and McMaster University also has similar setups and booths in their spaces for students to use. I think that the UCC should have the financial means available to pursue such booths, put them in these spaces, and allow students an easier and quieter time to study for everyone as well. That being said, study booths and study times can also be stressful aspects for students. So with this, I think this will be a great aspect for students to utilize the space on campus.
Mia, you have identified changes to the Western U app and the introduction of 2 new apps as campaign goals. What's your rationale for introducing these new apps when current apps are often underused by students?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we actually want to implement an app called One Western is because we felt that there's been a super big lack of a streamlined source for information. So what One Western aims to do is have everything that you need as students. I'm talking LTC connections, Link Flixbus apps, that sort of thing, connections to the right resources that you need, as well as other features that we put in our platform. So things like welled and occupancy sensors, checking how busy campus is before you come to campus, knowing that you're going to get a spot, and Spoke Rewards, which is actually going to be within that app, not its own app. But basically just one place where you can get everything you need, and there's already been a restructure of the USC Now app, and so we're kind of just hoping to hop on that and make the changes that I think structurally will benefit all of our students as well.
Thank you. We'll now move to round 2. Cole, your platform includes providing temporary overnight spaces for students feeling unsafe in their homes. How do you plan to ensure adequate accommodations and safety on university grounds overnight?
Yeah, that's fairly simple. Once you implement enough training and enough standardized practices on overnight spaces in the USC, frankly, if you walk in the basement of the USC after this debate, you can see how many spaces are unused. And I feel as though we can utilize some of those spaces for, like in my platform, speakeasies or a hookah lounge, but most importantly, as mentioned, the spaces where as though you feel unsafe and you need a no questions asked space to spend the night can be implemented. We already have the system in place. You just look at foot patrol and you look at other standardized practices to ensure that those students who feel unsafe in their home or unsafe going back to their roommates, their boyfriend, for instance, have a place to stay for the night, and they're not out there in the cold. We all see the horrible weather today. That's the essence of the platform.
Thank you. Hunter, do you believe that installing slides in multi-story buildings, like mentioned in your platform, would supplement existing accessibility measures like elevators? If so, why?
Absolutely, I do. So I believe that the slides implemented in multi-story buildings will reduce harmful exposure to the vulnerable population that may not find elevators or stairs accessible. I think that it was a way to add easy enjoyment into the population, as well as elevators are kind of boring. They're a little slow, and slides are so much faster, so much more enjoyable, and I think that's a much more beneficial use of funding. I'll answer that.
Steve, you mentioned that the reintegration of professional programs is an important goal for your campaign. Can you identify the specific ways you plan to reintegrate these groups?
Of course, yes. So a lot of students from consults did not know that med, education, dent, and law students are all under the USC. As Cole stated earlier, they pay the exact same ancillary fees as the rest of us do, $1,771 this year. For the average professional student, if they didn't do an undergrad at Western, they have no idea what the USC is. And even for the students who graduate with a degree here, they might not be aware that they're covered under the USC. One specific area that I want to address is to make the professional councils much more aware of the faculty and affiliate council grant, which is pegged at $4.73 this year. With this money, the professional councils can fund more of their events and that they can be more supportive of their student clubs as well. Now, this process is hard because even faculty councils like us have a troubled time getting this money and budgeting and receiving the application forms. So with that, I think that this is one way that I want to actually support all the professional councils and allow them more money to support all their student initiatives. Thank you.
Mia, do you think it's equitable to reserve spots for max students in your proposed FIMS, X, Mustang Athlete Student Council, Content Creator Internship?
I think it's definitely a hotspot within our faculty. We have a lot of really great students that are focused on media and beyond other things, social media, emphasis on that, and just reaching a broader audience. So I think it's definitely going to the right place, but I do think that we should open that up to other students too. So, you know, if you want to get student athletes involved in something, you're going to go to a varsity team. I think that's pretty much the thought process there with that context. But I wouldn't say it's equitable, no, but I would love to open it up to other students as well to address that gap there too. But, you know, people will know where to go, and I think that starting in the right place is super important. So love to give some shout out to my FIMS girlies and my FIMS faculty.
And men's.
We ask that all candidates stay silent unless it's their turn to answer during this round. Saja, you are notably the only candidate who does not plan to introduce big-ticket student experience items. Why did you choose not to include these on your platform?
Yeah, so I think the USC provides a lot of really fun things, and I don't plan on taking away any of those fun things, but I think we really need to focus on what's happening right now. The University Student Council has not at all acknowledged the fact that disabled students are not recognized. They're not fought for. At Western, they have not met the legal obligation to disabled students. Why are we not talking about that? Why is that something that is not in the limelight? We have students here that are fighting food insecurity, housing issues, affordability crisis, and we're not putting any money towards that. You guys give student fees so that the USC can support you, and you just assume that the money that we have left over is going to these fun things. But it's not. We're focusing too much on fun things and not what's actually happening. We're drowning it all out with the sound of concerts and more fun, but there's students here that are struggling. People that need help, and I want to focus on that. I want to put the limelight on the accessible education department and make Western do something, make Western change something. I want to bring food accessibility because you all deserve to have food. I want to bring help and affordability in life.
Thank you. We will now enter the third round of direct questions, starting with Hunter. You have a different leadership experience than conventional USC presidential candidates. How do you feel this helps you connect with the student body?
So I basically got no leadership experience, but I think that helps me better align with the students who don't typically vote in USC elections. The ones who don't vote in USC elections are obviously not involved in USC politics and don't have a need to vote. So I'm here to provide that excitement factor, that the ones that really get ones to vote, because I don't think that typically exists in the traditional USC politics. Those who are going for traditional issues and the betterment of campus. Obviously, I am going for the betterment of campus, but I don't think that's kind of aligns with the traditional students that don't vote in USC elections. So my goal is to reinvigorate the campus nightlife, reinvigorate the campus socialization factor that currently exists but could be improved. And I'm looking to improve the student experience without tampering much with the existing features of the student life.
Steve, in your platform, you cited that the LTC and USC's contract would come to an end during the next presidential term. Can you outline your negotiation strategy to move forward with the LTC?
Yes, for sure. This is of utmost importance to students here. We have to recognize that next year, whoever the USC president is has the important task of renegotiating the LTC contract. The USC has a strange relationship. It's a symbiotic relationship with the LTC. We need their bus pass, but they need our money. The USC gives over $10 million to the LTC every year, and we have a real window of opportunity because it is up to the next USC president to take years of advocacy and feedback and action it. As USC president, I will fight to get those contracts in place. I will fight to bring back the bus 10. I will fight to bring back the late night routes and more winter routes as well. And through the conversations with city stakeholders, I'm excited that we have identified a common path. Through a consult with city councilor, I've learned that there are some councilors on the London City Council who are excited and happy to work with the student body and as well as other stakeholders such as Fanshawe Student Union to bring these needs to the student body and give everyone equitable busing support. Thank you.
Mia, your platform point proposes clubs would not be de-ratified due to the individual actions of general members. How do you plan to ensure USC ratified clubs maintain USC safety standards under this process?
Yeah, so this is more of a case-by-case situation. And what I really identified was that in the past, clubs have been unfairly punished for the actions of individual students. And I don't think that people should be punished for all of the hard work the executive teams have put in, as well as the presidents too, that one slight mishap, leads to the de-ratification of an entire organization. And so with that, it's a case-by-case situation. We're going to do our due diligence in making sure that ultimately the club's governance board does have final say, and it will be, contextually looked at. However, I just wanted to protect our club execs, our club presidents that have put countless hours into work for their clubs, for fun programming, and making sure that those events happen for their students in protecting them. And so I think that this is something that will ensure that we can have students on campus having fun events and knowing that they're going to be protected no matter what.
Saja, why do you identify introducing employee discounts for Dons at USC-operated eateries as a priority when you did not suggest this for other students employed by Western University?
That's a good question. I think when it boils down to it, I think after speaking to a lot of people, we see the work that Dons do, right? We see that they feel like they're integrated with the USC. A lot of people think that Dons are integrated with the USC, and time again, we've heard the cry of Dons in every single presidential election on what can you do for us? And the excuse there is always that the USC just isn't employed by you. Like, you guys are under Western. I think it would be a great idea to actually extend that out to the rest of the Western community, and I don't think that's something that can be infeasible. I think that is something that can be possible. My focus here is to address the issue that Dons have constantly been crying out and facing, because again, my campaign relies on the voices that have been amplified by students and the voices that continue to not be heard in presidential campaigns and platforms.
Cole, you plan to introduce a refund policy that will allow students to receive a 50% discount on club memberships until January. How will you ensure clubs are able to keep enough cash on hand to allow for this while still being able to operate events throughout the fall semester?
Wonderful. I won't. If you operate a club that doesn't pride yourself on member retention all the way until January, you operate a club that's frankly undemocratic towards the students in which you're applying to. We see many clubs often target first-year students when it comes to their membership to see first-year applications. You must be a member to apply to be a first year. And we go all the way until January without having run an event once. I was once on the USC Finance Committee, and you see clubs simply need to run 3 events throughout the year. If you run 3 events in second semester, it's fine. If you have first-year students, for instance, I'm just looking at a targeted group, who apply to be in a club, they pay their $10 fee, let's say for instance, and they don't see anything up until January. I think there should be a refund, 50% of their money invested, should they have accepted in September, that $5 back in fees, rather than simply waste it on funding
That's
clubs
all
that
the time
they're
we
not
have
invested
for,
in.
Cole. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Jessica. Oh yeah, Team Cole!
The next section contains 3 questions for all candidates. You will each have 1 minute to respond. We'll start with the first question. Western International College will open to students on the former Brescia campus in fall 2026. If elected, how do you plan to support these students? We'll start with Steve.
Yes, thank you so much. So Western International College is set to reopen with its first cohort in this upcoming summer, with students around 50 or so students. Throughout my consultations, I've learned that there has been a lot of advocacy that has already been put into place so that these students will feel supported coming into day one of Western. We have already established that the USC will be providing them with all their ancillary fees as they become set to integrate as Western students from day one. They will have access to our health insurance, our dental insurance, the club system, and much, much more. As USC president, I will continue working with Western administration, Western International, and Western Housing to make sure that these students feel supported and feel integrated with pre-existing networks and support opportunities. These students are at a vulnerable place, but we at Western should show them our hospitality, show them our welcoming nature, and give them the best possible time to finish and start at Western. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We'll now go to Mia.
You know, I think Western International College is a very niche experience. So students are going to be coming here and they're going to be within their own cohorts for the first year. And what that says to me is that they're going to be in their own community and not necessarily part of the Western community. And so I think the transition, especially after they're done with that first year, is extremely important, especially for faculties like engineering, where there really is that kind of strong sense of community within your peers, the people you go to class with, because you are together all the time. And so what I think we need to do is integrate them throughout their time here. So when they first get here, especially when they're done with that first year, and implementing things like O-Week passes and programming, and especially networking events too, so that they can meet people within their faculties that they will be joining after the first year and not just stay within this niche group of students, especially because there are going to be barriers when it comes to internationally and culture shock as well. So that's just something that I think is a really good idea.
Thank you, Mia. Next is Saja.
I want to address the international college community the same way I want to address this entire student community, by making things more affordable, by addressing the food insecurity issue, by addressing the lack of accessibility that this university has, right? What if these students come in and they see the accessible education department and they struggle with it the same way our students here are struggling with it? We've seen international tuition fees. We know how expensive they are. They can face food insecurity too. If anybody, they can face it the most because of how much money they pay. And when they come here from a different country, do we want them to be struggling with food insecurity? Do we want them to be struggling with affordability? No. We want to offer these supports not just to them, but to this campus in its entirety. And they should know that the USC has these supports and that they have that there for them and integrated for them that they can use.
Thank you, Saja. Now we'll go to Cole.
Wonderful. I have considered and not a priority. Hunter, you're up.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Western International College will open to students on the former Brescia campus in fall 2026. If elected, how do you plan to support these students?
So, like Cole said, that's not a huge concern of mine. I think as long as I promote the same events, the same cool things that I plan on implementing on campus, as long as it's implemented with the Brescia students in mind, which it is, I see that as no issue, and they will be accommodated accordingly.
Thank you, Hunter. Now on to our second question. Ontario's recently passed Bill 33 puts the USC's ancillary fee structure at risk. How would you plan to navigate these changes during your term? We'll start with Mia.
You know, we have a lot of changes coming up government-wise. We have a municipal election coming up in October, and I just think that we need to keep things student-focused. There's been a lot of structural changes, especially economically, that Western's going to be heading into over the next couple years. And with what we have to do with finance-wise, you have to think about the value of things for students. So in terms of considering how we can reorient our finances, truly, yes, it's a numbers thing, but it's also a value thing. What will value our students and what will they see and feel on a day-to-day basis? What will you come to class with and see, oh, this is affecting the way that I feel and see myself on campus? And that's what's always going to be a priority for me. Yes, we have to figure out the economic side, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the value of a student's quality of life here is always going to be my priority, not necessarily the finances of our school.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
I think in terms like these, this is where the USC shines. It shines in its advocacies for students and to fight for students. That's what we're here for. That's why we need somebody who can represent these students' needs, who can gather all of your anger and your sadness and the things that you feel and focus that into fighting these things and saying, we need these supports for our students. We have these things for our students. We need to keep them this way. We have these ancillary fees for a reason. Our students pay these fees for a reason. They go towards initiatives for our students that can tackle things like affordability and rent issues and food insecurity. If you take this away, this is impacting our students, and that's what the USC president should be doing, is putting precedent over you guys, over what you guys feel and how we are supposed to be there to fight for you.
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Oddly enough, I agree. I believe that student ancillary fees should be a choice. I think we put the perspective, rather than they're automatic and should you apply to be within the USC Health Fund, for instance, that's just one example. It's the opposite. You apply to be within it. So I think any USC member, anybody who comes to Western and pays those USC ancillary fees, opts into what they need. Those fees are for you, by you. And there's no reason that you should have less control simply because you don't pay attention or you have less autonomy over the decisions you make regarding what fees you're paying at the end of the day. It's $17,000, more than $17,000 in ancillary fees. And that's something to consider. How much of those ancillary fees are you getting back throughout your time here at Western? And it's my goal as an Ivy business student here to make sure that those fees are economized and what we're offering you is best for you, not just the general public.
Thank you, Cole. Now we'll go to Hunter.
Can you repeat that question, please?
Ontario's recently passed Bill 33 puts the USC's ancillary fee structure at risk. How would you plan to navigate these changes during your term?
So, if I've got to cut jobs, I will. And that's a reality that a lot of my candidates here might not enjoy. I don't obviously don't love the fact that I might have to cut jobs, but if that's a reality, then I'm the leader that's strong enough to do it, and I will absolutely pull the trigger.
Thank you, Hunter. Next is Steve.
My plan to advocate for Bill 33 implications is twofold, because at the same time, I want to increase your awareness and transparency of these student fees. Bill 33 implications means that the provincial government now has the power to make any student fee opt-outable of. After consultations with the Vice President External Affairs of the USC and other stakeholders in the USC, I've identified a plan and how we can combat this twofold. Number one, when's the last time you took a look at your ancillary fees? What exactly does student health or wellness mean? For my consultations, a big misconception was the fact that when people think they opt out of Purple Care, they're ineligible for student health and wellness clinic at Thames Hall. We have to recognize that right now, these fee schedules are findable online, but very inaccessible for students. As USC president, I want to make clear, digestible guides for you to empower how to find and use your ancillary fees, even though they're not opt-outable of, and give you a way to take back this power of your health at the same time combat Bill 33 implications. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We'll go on to our third and final question of this round. What platform point of yours are you the most proud of? We'll start with Saja.
I'm the most proud of the advocacy for the disabled students on campus. I feel really sad that nobody here is acknowledging that in the 2021 review of Western's Disability Office, they failed to meet the legal standards of accessibility to the students here. These are students that have not been fought for. The USC is supposed to be here to represent everybody, but we're not here to fight for everybody, it seems. If we put the pressure on Western and acknowledge that they're doing this, they'll have to do something. But because nobody's doing it, they're getting away with it. These students are suffering every single day on this campus, and we still don't acknowledge it at all. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's putting any precedent toward it. And I don't get why, because these students are students too. They pay their fees, just like everybody else, the fees that we use for the other fun things that they can't even attend. What events are we doing? Who are they for if these people can't even come to these events? What if they're stuck, they don't receive the right accommodations to anything? It makes no sense, and this is what we need to be fighting for. This is what the USC needs to be here for, is for these students, for every single student.
Thank you, Saja. Now we'll go to Cole.
Can you repeat the question?
What platform point of yours are you the most proud of?
Yeah, wonderful. It's a hookah lounge in the USCC basement. If you go, take a walk around when you're done this debate, and you look at all the empty and unutilized spaces in the UCC basement. frankly, it's deplorable. If you look what we can put there, I want to create a space where you come to the UCC for a reason you love, for recreational purposes, not because you're simply here for class or because you have a doctor's appointment, for instance, but because there's something fun that you want to do here. And I think one of my platform points I'm most proud about is instilling a UCC hookah lounge in the basement to ensure that we all celebrate our cultural heritage while enjoying the time we spent here, not just spending a time here out of convenience or necessity.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
So the platform point that I'm most proud of is, for those who know my campaign, it's obviously the Wave nightclub. I think that we host ticketed events such as Super Bowl Sunday or the Valentine's Day event or the Love Island watch parties. I believe we are more than capable of hosting these ticketed events that serve alcohol. I believe this is a great excuse to bring students off of Richmond Row and into Western Campus. That way it's more money into our pockets, as well as greater student safety. We can ensure that a little better than Richmond Street can. And I believe it will be a fantastic idea to kind of reinvigorate the student nightlife. So that's an initiative I'm most proud of.
Thank you, Hunter. Now we'll go to Steve.
Yeah. So one of my most proud initiatives on my campaign is addressing food insecurity, and I think I have really feasible solutions to address it. First off, I want to implement a program like Too Good to Go at places like The Spoke, and specifically for the bagels at The Spoke. After consultations with the food and beverage industry, with the food and beverage managers of the USC, Western USC staff, as well as executives, we have identified the possibility of using Spoke bagels and redistributing them for cheaper prices at the end of the day. Additionally, after consultations with Western's Vice President of Housing and Ancillary Services, they have directed interest in continuing food reuptake programs as well for campus eateries. Through conversation with them, they've expressed interest in reopening up the Manchu Walk and its leftovers at the end of the day in order to give back to the student body as well for cheaper food. All that being said, I'm super excited to bring cheaper food to campus. I think I've identified really easy and feasible ways to do so after many consultations. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia.
The platform point that I'm most proud of would be the implementation of a Good Samaritan policy. And what this means is that in times of need in relation to drug overdoses or overuse of alcohol, a student will never be punished for calling for help, like CERT or 911, over their academic sanctions. And this is already implemented in the Government of Canada, but not on our campus. So students can be academically sanctioned for the use of alcohol and drugs, especially on residence. And this is a problem, especially as a heads off. We see this all the time. First years think that, oh, I can't call for help even though my roommate's in a time of need because I don't want them to get in trouble. I experienced this with my roommate when we were driving home from Richmond Row one night and saw girls on the side of the road that didn't want to call for help because they had already received a letter about what might happen if they were to do something like this again. And so this just ensures that there's not going to be any misconceptions. You're going to know I can always call for help and I'm always going to be okay and Western will protect me.
Thank you, Mia. This concludes the first half of our 2026 USC presidential debate. We will now take a 10-minute intermission. Stay tuned for the next segment where candidates will go head-to-head on campus hot-button issues. Thank you. Pardon me? Oh yeah, you can just leave them here. Thank you so much.
dare not answer, like be like,
Yeah,
many
yeah.
candidates have thoughts on their
But
position.
don't you think they'll already start to raise their hands anyway? Like, don't you
Yeah.
think we won't have to respond to
I
that?
think it's safe.
Please take your seats as we enter the head-to-head portion of our debate. Candidates will be asked 3 question prompts. After each question is read, each candidate will be given 1 minute to respond. Once every candidate has answered, we will enter a 5-minute open debate where candidates can discuss each other's answers and challenge each other. We'll start with our first question now. Affordability is a major issue students face right now. What do you think the USC can do to address this? For opening responses, we'll start with Cole.
Wonderful. Nothing. Affordability is a fact of the general housing market surrounding the USC. And rather than focus on affordability, I believe we should focus on student support. There's a lot of landlords in the area who take advantage of the fact that they're close to campus. And students, frankly, don't know. This is the first time they've ever rented. They live with their parents before they've come to Western. And it's a tragedy. So we should focus on our already existing USC off-campus initiatives to ensure that landlords aren't taking advantage and they are marketing their fair value for the home they have close to Western campus. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter. Yeah. We also encourage all candidates to utilize the pen and paper if they do need to write anything down for their memory purposes later. Affordability is a major issue students face right now. What do you think the USC can do to address this?
So look, I think there's a great opportunity for the Wave nightclub to grant so much profit from students who are typically visiting Richmond Row. I think why give all the profits available to Richmond Row, such as the bars on like the Lilas or things like that. I'm not sure if I can mention bar names or not. But I think why give the profits to them when we can keep the profits internal? So I think the Wave is totally capable of implementing a weekly nightlife on campus that we are not utilizing currently. And I think that's an easy way to kind of be able to increase profits and reallocate funds as necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. Now we'll go to Steve.
Thank you for that question. For affordability, I want to address that twofold in my comprehensive transportation plan. In transportation plan specifically, first, I want to look at buses and getting students cheaper, more buses as well. Right now, the USC has already partnered with 1X to offer cheaper bus routes, but I want to take that partnership one step further and work with BusBud, who the USC have also expressed interest to. With a BusBud partnership, students can get cheaper buses for more different routes and different times to save for their affordability as well. Additionally, I want to expand on the Via Rail initiative that the USC started this year, and again, offer more discounts through this Via Rail initiative. Finally, this is an exciting point. I want to partner with airlines to give students seasonal, cheaper airline tickets as they travel around the holiday season and winter breaks. In such a way, my transportation plan adequately supports students in all 3 different types of transportations and gives them a cheaper time as they attempt to travel across our province or country. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia. It should be on. No?
There we go. Now it's working. So, life is expensive. We all know this. Unfortunately, this is a very important question. But what I think the solution to this is town-gown relationships. So, kind of like Steve was saying about the LTC kind of gap he wants to bridge there, I think the solution is making things more affordable that students are already having to pay for. We address this with Spoke Rewards. We address this with our Western SPC platform point. What we want to do is pair with more London communities and more London businesses to, encourage our students to go get their resources locally, but also at a more affordable price. And so in, making things cheaper that you're already paying for, it does lighten the burden there. And I think that we're going to feel these day to day. We're going to feel this when I go to Spoke and I have my free coffee, even though I shouldn't be spending any of my money there anyway. But I think that's just one way to make things a little bit easier, because realistically, we can't have a big impact on the economic state of the world, unfortunately.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
I think that with this question, everybody here needs to think of one thing, and that's why is the USC already not doing something for affordability? My entire campaign is built off of affordability. We talk about free soup and bread kitchens. We talk about value menus. We talk about emergency housing support. We talk about grants for students that need things like hearing aids and wheelchairs. We talk about grants for students that want to further their education through the MCAT, the LSAT, the DAT, things like that. This is what we should already be doing. This shouldn't be a question that they're asking us right now because this is where your money should be going. You need to hold the USC accountable and see that this is something that should already be happening. Why is it not happening? It's because of a repeated history of USC presidents coming in here and not acknowledging these things and focusing on things like concerts and parties, which are all great to have, but not when students are suffering, not when students are asking you, how are you gonna help affordability? Why is it not already done? You need to refocus what's actually you're thinking about here and why the USC isn't already doing this. Why is my money not going where it should be going?
Thank you, Saja. We will now enter a period of open debate. To start, Cole, you have the floor. If anyone else would like to speak, motion to Finn, and he will add you to the speakers list. Thank you.
Wonderful. Motion to Hunter.
Am I good to speak?
Would you? Yeah.
Can I question any candidate?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Steve, does discounting to some students oppress the others? Question mark.
So the USC currently has these corporate discounts set up with partners like 1X Bus, like Via Rail. And as long as these partnerships are continue being brought for the fact that it is a code that can be actually used for every student, I think that will be equitable use for everyone. I want to take that a step further as well to address affordability, and that is through my discount for standardized exams for a platform like for UWorld, where we can give students cheaper prices for MCATs, CPA, CFA, MCCQE, and all these other, and NCLEX as well. So all students who are writing these exams have cheaper, more standardized rates.
Thank you so much. We'll move to Mia.
I also have a question for Steve. Love the airline idea. How do you plan on making that happen?
Thank you so much for that question, Mia. So I recognize that Western employees have that airline thing. Last year, they paid for a flight with me to Halifax for a conference, and they got like a 40% discount off it. I was like, holy smokes, like that's a lot of money right there. Additionally, Western alum also have partnerships with travel agencies where they can get cheaper flights. So recognizing that those two bodies are already people who get cheaper airline tickets, I think the Western USC, as a $37 million company, has the power and ability to pursue similar partnerships as well.
Do any other candidates want to speak at this time? Okay, thank you, candidates. We'll now move on to the next question. Should the USC give Greek life special privileges? For our opening responses, we'll start with Hunter.
So I'm so glad you asked this. This wasn't an existing piece of my platform, but after you mention it, it's kind of a great idea. I think that the students that are part of Greek life should be kind of granted this. I'm not sure what special privileges you speak of exactly, but I think it's not unreasonable to prevent them or to grant them access to perhaps any perks and kind of encourage that lifestyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. Now we'll go to Steve.
Yeah, so someone on Reddit said I want to bring them back fully. That is not true, first of all, I want to mention that. Yes, I want to integrate Greek life solely back onto our campus through a couple of steps of plans. Starting off, I want to recognize that Greek life represents about 5 to 6% of our student body, and they uphold their organizational values of philanthropy, mentorship, and community. Recognizing those points, the USC have not had communication with them for the last 2 years until this year. My platform point seeks to bring more communication. That is what myself I'm committed to. I'm committed to talking with more representatives after consultations from the Penn Hellenic Council and the Interfraternity Council so we can see and address ways of how they can be brought back to this campus to provide for more safety, equitable reasons as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia.
I do think we should consider it. And the reason I say that is because I think in the past we've been part of the problem and the solution at the same time. So in not allowing Greek life to be affiliated with the USC, we're kind of forcing them off of campus. That can really create this kind of bubble where you're reinstating the kind of community that I don't know, has been problematic in the past, I guess you would say. But what we can do and what the USC does with a lot of other areas on campus is implement training, give them resources to make it a safer community, not just for people that are already in Greek life, but people that might have an interest in it and want to get involved. I think that doing that will diversify the group of students that want to be involved with Greek life, and it can really strengthen what they can achieve both on and off campus. So I definitely think it's something that we should consider.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
I think that we can support Greek life students the same way that my entire campaign revolves around supporting any student. I think they also face accessibility needs. I think they also face financial insecurities, and we can deal with that. But to integrate Greek life right now is absolutely disrespectful. There was a fire that just broke out. There's people in the hospital. Think of their families. Think of how they would feel proposing to bring these things back to the USC. It's disrespectful. It makes no sense. I think that Greek life has its place on campus, but I think that should come from a repeated good behavior and watching them and making sure that there isn't issues. We have a repeated history of issues with Greek life. We have to recognize the victims here and see where the faults are in that system. It needs to be something that happens later, not something that happens now, especially after we need to mourn what's been happening right now in December.
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Wonderful. I think it's faulty to say that Greek life is the cause of these whatever injuries that we've seen in the past. But I also agree that Greek life is not something we should integrate in the USC. I think Greek life thrives because it's not integrated into the USC. And that integration will result in the Greek life community we have overall on this general Western campus being that not of those we traditionally perceive as being Greek life, but more rigid when it comes to the USC clubs, for instance. And I think that's something that Greek life doesn't want, to be honest with you. Greek life is not something that should be integrated in the USC. I think Greek life, frankly, thrives not being integrated in the USC, and it should continue to do so as we move forward throughout history. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. We will now enter the period of open debate. To start, Hunter, you have the floor.
No comment. Next question.
It's now the period of open debate. If anyone would like to challenge another candidate's responses or pose another question, as mentioned before, please motion to Finn if you'd like to be added to the speakers list. Cole, you can start.
When we talk about the wave being converted into the USC nightlife or USC student club, I ask, have we had a look at the drink menu? And I pose that to Hunter. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question, please?
I can. Are you comfortable with that, Jessica?
Go ahead.
Wonderful. When we ask whether or not the wave is to be converted into a student nightclub, for instance, which I've seen in some of my opponent's candidates, I ask to those candidates, Hunter specifically, have we noticed what is included on the wave drink list? Thank you, Hunter.
Look, so I think modernizing the alcohol selection here at the Wave and the Spoke will be beneficial to students, in particular perhaps the Greek life students. A particular initiative of mine, I'm not sure if I can mention brand names or not, but the implementation of cut waters perhaps at the Wave and Spoke venues would be greatly beneficial to the student nightlife, I believe, and that would grant more profits and more student experience to the Western students. Particularly, I think that the implementation of that will greatly revolve around the Greek life students promoting this event. And if we can work together, I think that can create a more profitable student experience as well as a more beneficial student experience to all.
Thank you, Hunter. We'll now move on to Steve.
Yeah, I just want to give a response to Sedge's point as well and start off by saying that I offer my condolences to all of those affected in the tragic incident from a couple of months ago. But we also have to realize that we cannot pin the negative actions from a couple people onto entire organizations. We have to realize that, again, Greek life representation has about 5 to 6% in our student body, and that all I'm proposing is dialogue and continued conversations. We cannot alienate entire communities just because of the actions of a few. And through that, this is why, again, my plan proposes continued conversation and not direct immediate integration.
We'll move to Mia now.
I also raised my hand to speak to Saj's point, and I also wanted to say that I'm really sorry to anybody that was affected by the Pike fires that we experienced last semester. It was an incredible hard time for the Western community, and my heart goes out to the families that were affected and the Greek life that was affected as well. But I think that we have a unique opportunity on our hands. We have the resources and we have the ability to open up what we can provide for our students. And at the end of the day, these are students. People that are involved within Greek life are Western students first, before they were in Greek life. And so in giving them the structure that they need to support the people within their respective frats and sororities, I think is exactly how we integrate them back on campus.
We'll now move to Saja.
Yeah, so to both of the candidates, and by no way am I saying we need to isolate Greek life. Greek life can still benefit from the things that we offer here. There's still students. There's still things that they can benefit from that my campaign brings to them. It's accessibility, it's affordability. These are things that they struggle with. But there needs to be a time of mourning, a time of acknowledgement. There is multiple people in the hospital. There are multiple families suffering right now. These girls just came in first year. These are fresh students. It's not just what happened. There's a repeated history of issues within Greek life. They need to be watched for good behavior, and I do agree that we can integrate them, but it is way too soon. This happened in December. We cannot propose this. This is so disrespectful to the people that are still suffering in that hospital right now.
Do any other candidates want to speak on this issue? Thank you, candidates. We'll now move on to the next question. Is there a point on another candidate's platform you disagree with? Why? For our opening responses, we'll start with Steve.
Yeah. One point that I want to address right here, and to me is one of Mia's points specifically, is the parking passes for our rec center employees. Now, I fully get the idea, Mia, of how we can, the importance of these parking passes and for safety and at nighttime as well, when students need to get home and get to their car, essentially, in a quicker and safe manner. However, I think that this is not feasible. Not that it's not a bad idea, it's not feasible because Western parking currently is completely separate from the USC, and that the USC does not provide any parking passes even to its own executive team. So to that point, I think it's a great idea. I just think the feasibility of it I would love to hear your explanation of the feasibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia.
Sorry, I'm not responding, right?
No, so now's the time to give your response to the initial question, and then we can get into the open debate once everyone's had a chance to give that opening response.
I would say the only point that I'm a little skeptical about is one of Hunter's slides ideas. I'm just curious as to how we're going to get back up.
Thank you, Mia. Now we'll go to Saja.
I think I just want to ask Steve on his point of bringing more concerts to campus. I think that you have a lot of great things on your campaign, but I just want to know how you plan on implementing those things when concerts, A, take a lot of money, and 2, take a lot of time to plan. How do you plan on allocating your time? Because a lot of times when the USC president comes in, the issue is that they don't prioritize the right things. They don't prioritize food insecurity or affordability because they're focused on things like concerts. So I just want to know how you plan on addressing and kind of spreading the time and the money to see these issues met.
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Wonderful. I think we should look at general feasibility when it comes to the candidates. Can they make the promises they made happen? Who is passionate about the promises they made? And can you really expect that these complex, multi-point, 50-pillar platforms can truly emphasize what you want, what you care about? So I think we emphasize very simple things, and we see what can we really do to further those things. So I kind of asked to the rest of the group, what platform fillers do you have that you're less passionate about but can really affect change regardless of the political environment of the USC? Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
So admittedly, I haven't read any of the other candidates' platforms, and that's because I'm trying to stay in my own lane. I'm trying to remain relatable to the other students that particularly don't vote in the USC elections. I'm trying to stay true to them. I'm not impacted by any other candidate policy. I am staying in my own lane. And so I think that my campaign policy, my platform, is a small, actionable list that I believe is actually implementable within a one-year term. I believe that any candidate policy that is perhaps larger than mine might not be feasible within that one-year term. I believe that's more a wish list than it is a platform. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. We'll now enter a period of open debate. To start, Steve, you have the floor. Anyone else can motion to be added to the speakers list.
So sorry for clarification. Am I responding to one of the previous inquiries or?
It's open debate, so you can either respond, you can ask a question of another candidate. The floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll respond to Sajja's point first about the affordability of new concerts for a student body. New concerts are fun. Hey, I told everyone around me, if I win USC president, the first person I'm calling up is Gunna. So let's get hyped for that. But Sajja raises a very good point of the feasibility of such a task. After seeing that the USC in the past have been able to bring concerts that have been fully sponsored by TD as well, and also recognizing that the USC has an extensive sponsorship coordinator who in the past have been able to get $250,000 from BMO Banking Group as well. Using these services and using these connections, the USC should be able to, I want to use the USC to put on more concerts at free to cost through sponsorships.
We'll now move to Sajja.
I just kind of wanted to address what Cole was saying about feasibility. I know a lot of things in my campaign rely on things like money, but I've looked at our financial reports. They're publicly available. In 2022, we had $1.2 million in excess revenue. In 2023, we had 1.1, and in 2024, we had $1.4 million in excess revenue. That's money that should be going back into you guys, and that's money that my campaign team plans on putting back into you guys. The problem isn't money, and I don't think anybody should ever try to tell you that money is the problem. The problem is the people that you're putting into that office. Do they actually care? Look through their platforms and see, can you actually see a sense of passion to change the student body? Can you actually see that they care about issues on this campus? Are they addressing the right things? Are they talking about the accessibility department? Are they talking about the fact that the ratio of a counselor to student in the accessibility department should be under 300 to 1, but at Western it's 500 to 1? They're underfunded, they're overworked, and nobody cares. Nobody's talking about these people. Nobody's talking about supporting these students in financial crises. But we have the money, and we can do it, and I've made sure that we can do it, and my team knows that we can do it.
Mia, you now have the floor.
Yeah, Steve, I just wanted to say, I think it's a little ironic that you just said you're going to bring Gunna to campus, but you're asking me about parking passes. However, the fun part of this role is that a lot of things are advocacy focused, right? And I think that in funding parking passes for a few of our rec staff that they get to share and use at their discretion as they may so that they feel safe traveling to and from late night shifts is money well spent. I think we can talk with Western about how that'll support our students, but then also, you know, worst case scenario, if we do have to pick it up somehow, I'm sure we can make that extra $800-ish happen. So I did just want to speak to that quickly.
Would any other candidates like to speak at this time? Sajja, go ahead.
I think I just wanted to ask Steve one more question, because I know you talk about responsible investing, but you did just mention that you want to work with TD, who has a history of like unresponsible investing in things like armed weaponry.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Thank you for that response as well, Sajja. So I am not aware, so this is on me, I'm not aware that TD is on any list of any responsible investment, any responsible investing codes as well. I do recognize that the USC has now a new ethical partnership code that has already been established this year that seeks to bring in more equitable partnerships for the USC. Now, I'm not sure if the past TD partnerships that has been proposed by the USC, which has already been done and already been done for the student body, has been vetted through similar measures. But Sajja, I thank you for educating me about this issue. I think this is super important for my personal understanding as well. And I think that I will continue working with the USC Board of Directors and any USC staff for that matter to continue putting responsible or working with equitable and responsible partners in our communities. Thank you.
Mia, you now have the floor.
Yeah, to speak to this point, I think one of the biggest problems here is that the USC doesn't have a comprehensive policy in terms of how we want to determine what is and what isn't responsible when it comes to things like human rights and sustainability. And so what I have in my platform is a framework that the USC can follow for every single partnership that we have. This involves people within the London community, investments, and really everything that can have anything to do with economic implementation and those kinds of considerations. And so I think that that's really where the struggle is. We don't know how to make those decisions, and having a policy that's comprehensive will ensure that we always make the right one.
We'll now move to Hunter.
Am I allowed to ask a question to several candidates or just one?
Go ahead.
So my question to Steve or Mia whoever so chooses, is why we think we should invest in foreign ideas anyway. I think all the money that internally is generated within London, within Western, should be spent within Western. I'm unsure why it's invested elsewhere, truthfully, and I would love to hear their insights upon this answer. Thank you.
We'll now move to Steve.
Yeah, I just want to circle back to the human rights and ethical partnership policy right there. As a sitting counselor on the USC and as on the governance and finance subcommittee, we were able to actually pass a similar, or I guess a USC human rights and ethical partnership code that I referenced several times in my platform as well. I want to use that code to screen partnerships. I want to use that code to screen the student vendors that wanted to booth on campus, right? So my idea for this is that code should be made more accessible to the student body. This code was I was able to confirm the existence of this code with USC executives as well. But yeah, I think this code, to my understanding, already
Unfortunately,
exists.
that's all we have time for the open debate period. We will now move into the audience question period. If you are interested in asking a question, please line up in front of Gabriella, who is waving her hand by the Starbucks over there. When you reach the front of the line, you will be asked to tell her your question before you're given the microphone by Hannah, who's wearing a white sweater and a brown top near the front. Please keep your questions as succinct as possible to allow for as many questions to be asked. We now have our first audience question.
Right, so my question is for Cole. The hookah lounge. This is something that we've been looking to have on campus for a while. That's been a part of your campaign. Could you get a little bit into like the intricacies of like how that would kind of look? Like where is that going to be on campus and like how is that going to be organized?
Well, clearly it's corely implementable into my platform. When you look at what spaces do students currently have for smoking, very limited. Even when you look at residents that have to go to Western Road, and you look at the inclement weather outside, it's frankly deplorable. But what can we do? So just to give you a further context about what the UCC does, the UCC currently rents from Western this building, and from there we currently rent out to Starbucks or Tim Hortons, anything along those lines. But you look at the unused space in the UCC basement. I invite you all to go have a walk around the basement of UCC, and you look at the unused spaces we can have. My priority for those unused spaces will be that UCC hookah lounge. Not only will we implement these safe smoking spaces for students, but we all have a method for implementing cultural appreciation for the hookah lounge and its general essence. And with that, I'll leave you there. You'll have those spaces to smoke freely on campus, and that's simply one of the examples on my platform. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Again, Gabriella is located by the Starbucks if anyone has a community question that they'd like to ask any of the candidates here today.
Hello, my question is for all candidates. What is one aspect of someone else's platform that you wish was on your own?
Go ahead, Mia, you can start.
Saja's research into accessibility was beyond what I expected from any single candidate up here, and I just really want to applaud you for that. I think, you know, you've said it comes from a personal experience, and so I'm sorry that you had to have that origin story to get here, but I really hope that it does turn into something good, and I think that any single one of us that's lucky enough to be elected, I think that we'll definitely take notes from your platform, and we'll try and implement those.
We'll now move to Saja.
Honestly, I don't think I could really pick one thing off of Mia's platform. I think her entire academic column is just amazing, and it's one thing that I really felt was so amazing. I feel like there's privilege in a lot of things, and even in advocacies, and I think that in the next years, I really want to build a USC that has the privilege to fight for those advocacies. I believe that what we have to do now is something that we should have done a long time ago, but I love her entire academic platform. I think it's all amazing, and even when I was trying to think of things for the debate, I came up with nothing. Like, she's just amazing, and it's clear that she's thought about it, and it's clear it comes from a place of care, and I love that you can tell that somebody else is up on this stage and actually cares passionately for students.
We'll now move to Cole.
Thank you, Jessica. I will say, well, I agree with Mia's point regarding Saja's campaign. I will say that there's emphasis on Hunter's campaign and the comparison between both of ours. I believe Hunter definitely offers what I'm looking for to see in the USC. It's somewhere you want to go, not somewhere you have to go or you're here simply for convenience. So there's multiple elements, and it'd be, frankly, difficult to boil it down to one regarding what I would like to see for the USC, but I think both are implementable. Thank you.
We'll now move to Hunter.
So, like I said earlier, I haven't read any of the candidates' platforms beside me here. To no fault of their own, obviously. This is simply of my own doing. Personally, I believe the hookah lounge is of utmost value. But truthfully, I think my own campaign aligns with the needs and wants of students that don't typically vote in the USC election, more so than the other candidates' platforms. But again, I haven't read them, so I can't confirm, but that is my current belief. Thank you.
We'll now move to Steve.
Cole mentioned in his platform a bit about supporting affiliate students as well, and I think that we are the only two candidates who are in this race this year who have specifically mentioned affiliates in our platforms. Affiliate students represent more than 20% of our student body and have very unique governance standards on this campus as well. They have been able to achieve independent advocacy wins as well as do a lot of services for their own body. I think as USC president, we should be continuing working with this partnership, continue working with affiliates so that they are better represented both solely as an affiliate student with affiliate pride, but also supported like any other Western student as well.
Thank you, Steve. This is the last opportunity for audience questions, if anyone has a question.
So this is a question for all you guys. Earlier today, Western released a draft responsible investment policy, but notably it misses any commitments to divest from weapons manufacturers or companies complicit in human rights abuses, even though several clubs and student groups, the Goose and Dove Initiative, are demanding it. As USC president, how will you advocate for this? I'm sorry, Sorry, I'll read that again. Earlier today, Western released a draft responsible investment policy, but notably it misses any commitments to divest from weapons manufacturers or companies complicit in human rights abuses, even though several clubs and student groups, such as the Goose and Dove Initiative, are demanding it. As USC president, how will you advocate for this?
We'll start with Hunter.
I'm not allowed to swear on here, right? No profanity?
Preferred not.
Understood. So I think there should be no foreign investment anywhere. I think all the internal policies and all internal profits that we generate should be invested within Western. I don't see why I would, as a student, agree to send money elsewhere that's outside of London. I think it should all be internal and all be related towards the student that attends Western. Thank you.
We'll now move to Steve.
Hello? Okay. I first want to identify the fact that Western USC as a corporation has already divested from complicit with human rights violations. I also want to identify that last year, the Western USC has also passed a motion calling for responsible investing for our Western Senate. Part of my platform seeks to continue the conversation and dialogue with both students and grassroots organizations like Goose and Dove through continued consultations, responses, town halls, and surveys. As we move towards a Board of Governors discussion, the USC should be amplifying students' voice, bring that to the school admin as well, and at the same time, providing objective awareness about what has happened on our campus and how students can get their voices heard. If needed as well, we can also look into more possible motions specific to USC actions should that what the student voice be. Thank you.
We will now move to Mia.
I'm glad this got brought up. I saw the email before I headed here, but I didn't get a chance to read it. So that's very disappointing to hear. So thank you for talking about this. And I think the students are angry. I was at the Senate meeting on December 5th, and the entire audience was full. I was at a sustainability town hall in November, and students were extremely frustrated with Western admin. And so I can't say if that's what you're saying the email was. I haven't had a chance to read it myself yet, but I'm pretty disappointed. And I think that we need to continue working with student advocacy groups to figure out what our students want and what they want our school to be investing in. I do not think that we should be investing in weapons companies. We're a place of learning. This is a learning institution, not anybody that has any kind of contribution to the safety of people's lives. I think that's a pretty given, and I think that a lot of people within this school are going to agree with me on that. And so that's something that's a priority for me, and it always will be. I never want to be the reason that somebody's life is taken from them.
Thank you. Saja, you now have the floor.
I think that any candidate that comes on here is going to give you the same answer that you want to hear, and it's going to be a push for advocacy. But that's not what you need to see, and not what you need to look at. What you need to look at is the same things that I talk about in my platform, which is a passion for student change. Any single person here will tell you that we want to push for advocacy, but when they sit in that office, will they actually do that? Will they dedicate the time to doing that? Because we've seen a repeated history where they'll tell you the right things, but the time isn't allocated to those things. What I want to do is I want to say that I do care. Look at my platform. My platform has a repeated trend of caring for student needs and pushing for student needs. That's all it's about. And it follows the same thing with advocacy. I will make sure that we actually put the correct pressure on Western and continue and fight for them with a loud voice, a loud projected voice that feels the passion and emotion of every single student here.
We'll now move to Cole.
Wonderful. If we were to break down the question into investing in stocks that are a human rights violation, frankly, I believe any other candidate here would agree that it's unacceptable for the USC to invest in any stock that furthers any human right violation. When it comes to defense, however, I encourage the USC to invest in defense stocks. I think the USC should investing as much as it can into defense stocks when it comes to general political advocacy and general political climate of today. I think defense stocks is not something we should look away from, but we should be looking, where are our students going? Where are those engineering students going? Are they going to aerospace, or are they really going into mechanical or HVAC? Let's have a look at where our students are going industrially and invest in those same programs and general industries. So defense is a priority of mine. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now have our final audience question.
All right, so my question is for Mia. It seems as being a FemSof was a huge part of your experience touched upon in your platform, as well as a strong sense of pride for your program. What inspired you from this role, and what issues did you want to combat, as well as strengths you noticed worth encouraging, and eventually what called you into running for USC president?
Thank you for asking that. I honestly didn't go into this thinking that my program would be a strength, but within the media and communications program, all we focus on is how people interpret information and what reaches you best. And that's been at the forefront of my entire campaign. Something I realized over the last semester is that students aren't necessarily getting the information they need, and that is my main priority. We said that day one, we want a 40% voter turnout, and I think our campaign's doing a pretty good job at catching the attention of students that don't normally vote. Hunter's brought it up a lot. We have 70% of students that don't typically vote in our election, and I think that I have the perfect set of tools to figure out how we can boost student engagement, yes, but how we're actually gonna get students the information they need and how they're gonna comprehend that information and it'll stick with them throughout their time here. And so, yeah, I think that it's been an incredible strength, and I'm super grateful for my experience within the media and communications program. So thank you.
Before we get to closing statements, we'd like to ask one final question for all candidates. External advocacy to the municipal, provincial, and federal governments is a key part of the USC's mandate. If elected, what advocacy goal would you prioritize? We'll start with Mia.
Steve did touch on it earlier in the night, but it has to be the contract renegotiation with the LTC. So the London government actually decided to put it up for a debate as to how they should restructure their system. And I think that, we're at a point where students aren't necessarily feeling the support of the London Transit Committee right now. They removed Bus 10, and we need more bus routes that have a 1 in front of them. What that means is that they only run from September to April, so when students are in town. And I think that that's the perfect way to emphasize the contributions we make to them as a company, but then also understanding that we aren't the same as Fanshawe, and we're not the same as SOGS. We're our own unique body, and we have a very unique amount of money that we contribute to them. And so I think that they should really listen to us, and I think that that's something that I can prioritize, especially with the municipal election coming up as well.
Thank you, Mia. We'll now go to Saja.
I think my point also follows the same trend of the LTC contract. I think we've seen a repeated history where the south end of London, which typically holds more financially in need people and refugees, is often ostracized from the community, and they are not thought of. We need more routes in that area, and we need to support that area more. We keep redirecting things towards the Masonville area, which we've seen is where the trend of financial stability is showing, and it's just ridiculous to me that we keep ignoring those people and ignoring their voice.
Thank you, Saja. Next is Cole.
Wonderful. LTC, LTC, LTC this, LTC that. Lame. We know we have power over the LCT based on how many students here use the LTC on the daily. Not a priority at all of mine. Priority here is the ease of establishing a liquor license in the UCC. When it comes to getting the hookah lounge or the UCC speakeasy, that liquor license is my top priority. So the USC's interaction with Government of Canada, Government of Ontario when it comes to establishing a liquor license is my top priority, not the LTC that we all know and love. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
So similar to what Cole said, I don't really care, to be honest, about the question at hand, because I personally believe that Western already provides a significant benefit to students, and those that face issues are perhaps, I don't want to say unlucky because that sounds rather harsh, but unlucky, I guess. Anyways, I'm not really going for their votes initially. I'm going for the ones that really benefit from better student experience, and that looks like better nightlife on campus, better social events, and those who benefit from greater socialization on campus and a more reinvigorated campus life. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. Now we'll go to Steve.
Yeah, the past two candidates already talked about the LTC, so I want to take a different approach as well. I want to talk about our federal advocacy goals. Number one, I want to propose joining the Canadian Association of Student Associations, Canadian Alliance of Student Associations as an observer. As an observer, we will not be required to pay our dues or fees, so that will be no extra cost to students, no extra sitter fees, yet we gain the benefits of being able to work with federal advocacy groups on their initiatives. I want to combine that to advocate federally for the implementation of Bill C-227, which is one of the national strategies for housing for young adults. Through these avenues, I think that USC can approach its long-term advocacy goals on the federal level and work towards not just creating a better housing plan for Western students, but for all students in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. To end off the debate, each candidate will have 1 minute to provide a closing statement for voters watching tonight. We'll start with Saja.
I think for the longest time, a lot of the students on campus have been silenced. I think the people who suffer from accessible education, lack of accommodations have been silenced. I think students that suffer from financial instability have been silenced. But they gave me this mic today and they put me on this stadium to talk to you and to make sure their voices are heard. There's nobody here to silence me now, and you guys are aware of the problem. There's no ignoring the problem anymore. When you make your vote, you're not just voting for somebody's campaign, you're voting against somebody else's. And I just want people to think of what you're voting against and the impact that this can have, not just now, but on the future people. What if this isn't implemented later on? What if the next 3 presidents don't implement this later on? That's people that are suffering. That's people that are going to continue to be unheard.
Thank you, Saja. We'll now go to Cole.
Wonderful. Don't vote for me. Don't vote for me. Vote for us. When it comes to USC representation, you want somebody who's going to represent you, the things you want. Maybe it's not the most needing community at Western, which the USC already targets, but you look at what can make you passionate about the USC, what can make the future students here passionate about the USC and increase voter turnout. If you look at the last 25 years, 3 of those years did we have voter turnout above a third, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. Let's make a USC, and help me do so, that's passionate about what we do. Not just being here for convenience or being here for necessity because we have a doctor's appointment, but something we can really enjoy for our time here and our kids' times here in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Cole. Next is Hunter.
So when you vote for me, you vote for only me. There is no team behind my campaign. It is simply my ideas and my beliefs that best represent the 70% of students that aren't voting in USC elections. I think that by voting for me, you're voting for the most relatable candidate that will best reflect your interests and your beliefs, which is obviously Western nightlife improvements, Western socialization improvements, more opportunity for connecting with fellow Western students. I believe that a team with perhaps 40 or 50 students or people don't often reflect the best needs of students. I believe that dilutes the needs of students. And I believe that that kind of discredits those who perhaps are campaigning in large numbers. I think you should vote for me because I am the realest and the most chill. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. Now we'll go to Steve.
I want to start off by thanking all of the other candidates on the stage today for, we all have different ideas, but at the end of the day, we are here to improve the student body. I want to thank the Gazette for your hard work covering this debate and all your hard work throughout this process while educating students about the vote. Finally, I want to thank my team as well for your continued support along the way. There are still almost 2 weeks left of campaign season. The booths are still going to be up. Social media is having me running. I want to tell you out there to, use your vote. Be educated about which candidate you want to support and stick with that. As one of the first ever nursing students to run for this position, I'm equipped to bring upstream health policy to this campus and to make your campus experience a more inclusive, equitable, and healthier space for everyone here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Steve. Next is Mia.
Yeah, so despite how it may seem with the 5 of us, sitting up here all done up nice and proper with the cameras rolling and the live streams going, this isn't about us. This isn't about any single one of us. We all have our own platforms, yes, but they're all oriented towards every single person watching and everyone in this room. And so what I would say is no matter who's getting involved with student governance next year, think about what you want and use your voice, because the more students that show up to vote, the stronger our argument will be with Western administration to make what you want happen. And that's what I want to emphasize. My entire campaign has been revolved around this concept, and it's something that we need you to get behind to make those things happen. And I just want you guys to feel empowered to make that choice.
Thank you, Mia. With that, we are at the very end of the Gazette's 2026 USC presidential candidate debate. Thank you, everyone who attended tonight, and be sure to follow along with our elections coverage at westerngazette.ca. Remember to cast your ballot between February 2nd and 4th. Thank you all for tuning in tonight.